you've got a portrait and somebody says, wonder who that guy was, or whatever, this will be the whatever. So, you know, this is kind of like I'm Ray DeBow, and who are you? Where'd you come from? What was your life kind of like? In 3 minutes or less. Yeah.
Lord Jesus.
Yeah. Actually, I'll probably give you more than 3 minutes. Maybe we'll even give you up to a half an hour. But I'm going to edit it down to about 3 to 5 minutes because it's the way the world tends to be going. I'll leave a long version and a short version. How's that?
I don't care.
You don't care. So.
Sure.
It's
your game. It's your baby.
Yeah, well, it's my painting too. So, you know, just because you bought it doesn't mean that you actually own it, you know, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh?
And you got it so fucking cheap that it's...
cheap?
Yes, you're cheap.
I paid at least twice. At least twice.
Well, let me see. The next poor victim I get will be paying at least 6. So, who are you and where'd you come from? And say hello to the camera and move your head back this way so you know that tilt. Yeah, that's much more better. And relax now. Like hell. So this is Kirk Sauer. I've done a painting of Mr. Ray DeBow from. Where are you from? Fort St. John.
Fort St. John.
Fort St. John. And this is Ray. This is the man I did the portrait of. And we'll just continue on from there. So, where'd you come from, Ray?
I already told you.
Well, I don't know. You didn't tell me anything. This is the machine that you're talking to now, so...
I'm from Fort St. John.
Were you born in Fort St. John?
I wasn't born in Fort St. John. I was born in Medicine Hat, Alberta.
Ah, family of 6 kids, what?
No. I have 2 younger sisters and a deceased brother who died at the age of 3 or 4.
Ah. And your own, what, you have children?
Yes, I have 2 sons, David and Daniel, 13 years apart.
Grandchildren?
I only got into bed with her twice.
We'll edit that. Yes?
4 grandchildren.
4 grandchildren?
4 grandchildren. 3 granddaughters and 1 grandson.
Well, they'll be always interested in hearing that. So you were born and raised in Medicine Hat?
I was born in Medicine Hat. My parents had gotten married just at the end of the boom times of the 20s and were into the dirty 30s, and they had to scramble, and we lived in various places. Medicine Hat was the sort of the central part. I was there in that area till I was 13. My father came up to Dawson Creek to work building the Alaska Highway, Alcan Highway, in 1941 or something like that.
During the war?
Yes. And then he started or somehow got into the pool hall business in Dawson Creek. We also had a riding academy. Dawson Creek was pretty raw, and you know, there are a lot of men, construction men, troops around the town, and he and a partner got 10 or 20 head of saddle horses of various degrees of decrepitude and rented them out. And like I said, he got into the pool hall business And then the great explosion in Dawson Creek where they were storing dynamite pretty close to the center of town, and they stored the caps with them. Brilliant men. Caught fire. I'm going home with a sleigh full of groceries, and of course I went to see the fire, and there was a man up in the back of a truck saying that we should get out of there because there was dynamite in this burning structure, and there were a few drunks heckling him. Anyway, I listened to this for a bit, and I thought, well, I better get out of here because I have the groceries, and I will be in trouble if I don't get these groceries home. So just as I turned to leave, it blew. And it blew me across the highway into the ditch. I'm lying there stunned. I'm not unconscious. The sky looked like the 4th of July. Anyway, I gathered whatever wits I had left and went down to the pool hall, and my father, who was quite busy, gently urged me to go home with a boot and a rump. And I'm going through the town, and of course all the windows are smashed, and there are people bleeding, and so I got home. As a little aftermath of this, a few days later I went back to the scene of the fire, and there was my sled, minus the groceries of course, leaning up against this power pole or telephone pole, and a great black military policeman there, about 17'8". And I gathered all of my courage and went up to him and I said, "Mister, that's my sled." And he very kindly let me take it. It was scorched, of course, but otherwise intact.
That must have been quite an experience. Some people must have died.
I believe so. They're not too certain.
Sure. So, this was when you were pre-teens, was it?
No, I'd be about 13, 14, somewhere now.
So you stayed in Dawson?
Yes, and then my father, of course, he lost his business, and there was a big-time guide who'd made big bucks, and he decided to put on a stampede in Taylor. My father went up there to wire the grounds. They had a pretty good name. The name of Tommy Wilde was the money man, and the Jack Lawless was the promoter, showman. Anyway, we did that, so we were camped out there, and that went on, and Father came back, and there'd been a shed-like cafe, you might call it, across the road. I think Jack Lawless had it, and anyway, he had bought it. The dirty dishes were still in the sink, etc. There was no running water. Outdoor biffies. So that's how we moved into Taylor. And then Tommy Wilde had the property. He'd bought this quarter section, and there was a gravel pit on there that they had used to haul the gravel to building the highway. And my father bought 10 acres of this gravel pit from him. And so we started in the gravel pit, in the gravel business. The deal was he'd made a deal with a Frenchman in Dawson Creek who had a cement block manufacturing deal, and we were to supply him with the sand. So my father bought an old Dodge truck with a T120 Dodge motor in there, about 90 horsepower, and a new shovel. And I was elected to go down. These were 5-yard boxes, 5 cubic yards, to go down to the pit, put a screen up on the back of the truck, and throw the gravel, which was mostly sand, very clean sand, and fill the truck up. After I got in, I was about 17 by then, and when I got into a little shape, I could fill that truck up in 2 hours.
It's a lot of shoveling.
With a gallon of water. And then I had the pleasure of driving 36 miles over a rough gravel road to Dawson Creek to deliver this load. And coming out of that Peace River Valley, there's about a 5 or 6 mile hill, I can't remember now.
Oh, at the far end, yes.
It took me 1 hour to go up that hill. The lowest gear this old truck had.
Yes.
And it took another hour to cover the distance, and then deliver the gravel, come back, and do it again.
How many loads would you do a day?
2. On a good day when I didn't have a breakdown, mechanical breakdown. We got $50 a load delivered. No, we got $50 for the 2 loads delivered. So we did that for 1 season, and then Father bought a little Fordson tractor with a little farm pipe loader on the front, and that was the best machine that has ever been invented in my mind. Because after I became adept at this, which didn't take me too long, I could then load the truck in 5 or 10 minutes. That shoveling that year, of course, got me in pretty good shape.
Sure.
And I think I'd, through circumstances, I'd stopped school, and then when things got a little better, I went back to school.
So how old were you now?
I don't know, a year or 2 older than most of them. Let's see, I had grade 7 in Taylor, grade 8 in, grade 7 in Dawson Creek, grade 8 in Taylor, grade 9 in Fort St. John, and I had a little run-in with one of the teachers in Fort St. John, so I went to Dawson Creek, and it cost me $30 a month for room and board. First I'd rented a shack, but I got $30 a month. The going rate for almost anything work-wise, it didn't matter if a waiter or picking rocks for a farmer, was 50 cents an hour. So I had to come up with $30 a month, because my folks couldn't afford it, and whatever else I wanted for spending money. So it kept me fairly busy, and I did. One of the jobs I did was unload the coal trucks from Hudson Hope onto the rail cars. Now these trucks, while the drivers would sit across the street in the hotel and relax, the first half of the load wasn't bad, as I could throw it in one fling. But when I got to halfway through the truck, I had to throw it twice. So I think they were hauling about 13 ton or something like that. So it was about 20 ton in my estimation that I flung off this thing for $2. And I was glad to have that.
How about you were? How far did you go in high school?
I got my grade 12 and I'd gone out for a year and came back and tried grade 13. I'm 21 now. And I was failing, and the girl that I loved desperately rejected me. By this time I'm staying in a dormitory. Things have improved, and they were paying $17.50 a month for room and board, and Father was able to meet that. So I was Fat City. I'm accustomed to making $30, $40 a month. And at that time, you could go to the local dance halls for, I think it was $1. The girls were free. It cost 50 cents for chips or whatever after. So I was financially independent. In any case, I could see the writing on the wall. So another guy and I, in fact he's a lawyer in this town, decided to join the French Foreign Legion, or its equivalent. We had I wouldn't say yard sale, but a sale of our personal effects at the dormitory. Come up with $15, hitchhiked to Fort Grand Prairie, and went to the recruiting station, and there was a corporal, Ramsbottom, I'll never forget his name. Put us through our paces, and they were looking for gun fodder for young officers, and he thought that we might qualify. So the next thing, we were on a train to Edmonton, to Manning Depot, interviewer, medicals, and anyway we passed, and we got into officer candidate school in Camp Barton in Ontario. Started out with, we were the second group to go through this course. We started out with 60 supposedly hand-picked men, and in short order we were down to 20. There was a family crisis when I was about to, I think I had a month left for my commission. I had to return home to the family business, and anyway, when I was at home, I got married to a local school teacher, or a school teacher who was teaching locally, and she became pregnant. I didn't think much of marriage. It wasn't quite what I was. By this time I'm in the militia, and the captain or the lieutenant there, who was a one-legged casualty from the war, suggested that I go down to Borden in the winter and finish getting my commission and help him with the unit at Dawson Creek. And I thought, well, that's a pretty good idea. And I believe he assured me I would only have to go through 3 months of it. I went down there and I had to go through 6 months of it, right from scratch. This time I know what's coming. The first time I didn't. Anyway, I made it. And we had an option of whether going to the militia or going into the active force. But Korea was over. I trained with some of them, and they wouldn't let me go into a jump battalion. Wouldn't let me go to Europe. So I took a reserve commission and came home to hell with it. So from then on it was working in the family business, operating equipment, a number of other things, and of course, at the age of 21, I am closing the officers' mess against hardened drinkers. As I was to discover later, started drinking when I was 17. And, I got to the point where I had no use for a man who couldn't drink and work. So, 20 years later, when alcohol had reduced me to a hopeless and helpless condition, the business was gone, the family was gone, and the only answer I had for living was to blow my brains out. Through fluke or divine intervention, and I don't care which, I thought I was inviting a man out for a drink and he thought I was asking for help. And I was introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous and the concept of alcoholism as a progressive illness. Physical allergy linked to the mental obsession, and I knew beyond a doubt what my main problem was. I was alcoholic. Without any question.
Do we want to record this?
I don't give a shit.
Okay.
You're the guy doing it.
You're the one talking. Keep on. You got exactly 6 minutes left.
6 minutes. Yeah, right. Anyway, one of the things I did after I got off the giggle juice was move our old shop several miles and make it into a 6-suite apartment building to house my parents and my family, and have other people in the other 4 suites pay for this. There was an economic downturn and the mortgage I was promised didn't come through, so we're on demand notes, and I would get one finished at a time. It took a number of years. I help, by this time I'm pretty well operating equipment. I helped build several of the dams on the Peace River, and my wife moved out with my 2 sons, and stating that she deserved if I can remember correctly,
It doesn't matter.
a house with a white picket fence. Now the suite I had finished for us was 2,500 square feet, 2.5 baths, and so that left me. But we hadn't been getting along, of course. So I said, well, if you change your mind, within a year, you want to come back and try it, I'll wait. She didn't. So we were on friendly terms. I helped move her over there and moved her a couple of times. And visiting with my children. We were in the same place in Taylor, same little town. 2 years go by, and this other lady took a fancy to me, and we became lovers, and I moved her down to the 2,500 square foot suite. Somehow this disturbed my wife, and she decided on a divorce, and that's what happened. So then I was a stepfather. I went to the library and I'm a reader. That's my big passion, and that's what I do, and I read very little fiction. Oh, I got a book on stepfathering. And they said, the odds are against you. So anyway, I had to get Emily. I told her I couldn't hold the financial freight to work in construction, and there's feathers today and chicken tomorrow. That she would have to retrain in her former occupation, was a lab technologist, which is quite a long story. Anyway, she got this, and that first job she had to drive from Dawson Creek from Taylor to Dawson Creek for the job for a year, and I guess I became Mr. Mum. The only thing I knew was military training. I ran it like a boot camp. And I was quite sure that if their mother hadn't been in the same bed with me, that they would have set it on fire. And I told her, I said, if you think these kids are going to love me, give your head a shake. But I said, they're going to respect me or somebody's going to die. So anyway, we were together a good number of years, and I thought she was driving from Taylor to Fort St. John. She was on shift work. Several of my acquaintances got killed on the road. I said, we're moving out of here. So I designed a retirement home. I had to retire. My wife was considerably 16 years younger than I was. That I designed 50, without exaggeration, retirement homes. Emily had been interested in plants, and I'd never grown anything but a beard in my life, but I thought, I'll design a building with a greenhouse in it, and we can have togetherness when the children leave, because it's been my observation that after the children leave, the empty nest syndrome, you look at each other, then you start chewing on each other's livers.
We'll edit that.
Okay.
That's sometimes when love actually blossoms. You know nothing of that. Carry on. You got a whole 2 minutes.
Well, anyway, you're going to edit some of the stuff out. So I've got more than 2 minutes.
Oh, you got 2 minutes of tape left.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I ran into this concept of an earthship, which is I became a born-again ecologist and built one of these things on the outskirts of Fort St. John, 3,200 tires, and it's taken me a little while to do this. In the meantime, Tinkerbell, my intimate terrorist, became distracted, not with another man, but with other things, and she left, and I am living in a recycled construction shack on the property next to the earthship, 10 by 32, and I finished this earthship pretty well, and there I am with a 2,000 square foot earthship next to my hovel. You know what they say, when you're handed lemons, make lemonade. That's my lemonade stand. Or the Northern Taj Mahal, a monument to a dead love. She's not dead, but the love seems to be dead. And so time has gone by, and I am now 76, divorced for the second time. We had a divorce party, which was very civilized. There were about 20 people. Over in the earthship, there were about 20, 30 people attended. Very civilized affair.
Going to get married again?
Are you out of your fucking mind?
That's the end of that statement, and that's the end of the tape. Should I shoot you now? Say goodbye, Ray.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Well, if I'm